in the summer of 1985, I think in August, that I was in Strand looking for books. Now, it's been a long time, but now it's such a joy to talk about a book with Gerhard, and it's, of course, as you know, such a joy to publish a book with Gerhard. Yes, as he just told you, he came to my house in Istanbul a few years ago for another project, and then I said, would you please have a look at, would love to look at my photos, and then he looked at them, and I explained to him, as I also wrote in the introduction to this book, that in the winter of 2012 and 13, I was a bit depressed, and I had a new camera, and I was continuously taking photos. And then this was related to my mood, to my depression, to the fact that I was not happy with the novel that I was writing then. I mean, not the contents of the novel, but not very happy that and I was taking and I explained this all in the introduction. Then Gerhard said, you have 8,500 of them here. Please reduce them to 600, which I did. Then our next meeting was during the Documenta. I was in Kassel. Then Göttingen is not far away. So in the mornings I was going to Göttingen every day, and for 2 days, and editing the book together. And then in the afternoons, I was always late, returning to Kassel. Then we did things with the layout of the book. What do you think?
Yeah. So when I said to Orhan, please reduce the 8,500 books to 600, it was just a guess, yeah, so out of the blue. And actually, when you count the photos in the book, there are exactly 600. So the choice he did intuitively was just the perfect one, and there was not too much to do, just to arrange them in a proper way. And so I want to give to you, before we are talking about the artistic content and the work of Orhan, what is of course the most important part, I want to talk with you a little bit about the concept of the book. So out of the 600 photos, we could have made, of course, a huge coffee table book. But that was not our intention. For me, the photos were something to read. They are organized on the pages like comic photos, like a comic. So all photos are landscape or horizontal, and there is a reading direction. And there are no words, no captions, but if you are concentrated, you can read a story of unimportant things in the photos.
The logic of the layout of the book is that the photos are parallel, are horizontal, so the normal logic also demands that we do a horizontal book. But I also thought I had other ideas that I instinctively wanted to make a perpendicular book, perhaps because I'm a literary writer and a writer's books are always perpendicular. A book is a book. Sometimes I think if it's a perpendicular book. Anyway, but more important was that in the end, I am the photos that I took with my Canon D5 were many and digital, that actually, when I was photographing, I was not photographing like the old photographers who were using silver film and an expensive thing and waiting for the perfect moment and click they would do. Or I'm also photographed many times, so I know photographers, before the digital photographing, they would look at you, then ding, only one. As the digital photograph developed, photographers begin to do tick, 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 and more, because the concept, the idea that a film is expensive, when you are pushing the button or pulling the trigger, you have to be careful, is slowly disappearing. And digital photographers, I argue, are representing a moment, not one with one photo, with many clicks. So I thought that if the photography is, in a way, represents a moment, why don't we represent the moment with more than one photo? The logic of the book is such.
And as I said, the size of the book and the layout is related to fiction books. So something what is part of the main work of Orhan Pamuk. And it is a reader. So the book has to be held in your two hands. And we did something very classically. So there is a big space on the two sides to hold the book with your thumbs, with your thumb. So there. Here they are. So here is a typical page layout. This is a frame for the typesetting and big page numbers and a big space to hold the book. And the typesetting was done in a Baskerville book, so a very classical type font which is mainly used for literature. So the book was designed that Orhan feels comfortable in his own pages.
I should say thank you, but a lot of thinking and grouping also, a lot of thinking about how to group the photos, because now that we are not treating the photos all an end itself, but there are groups of photos representing moments, then how to classify them, how to put them together, how to give the book a sense of continuity and not randomness. That is, then I took these photos in 4 months. They're all landscape photos. I have to tell you that my balcony, the word balkon is the same in Turkish, looks at the entrance of Bosphorus. I have a very beautiful landscape, but I was not after beautiful landscape photos, but I was after something that would represent my mood. I wrote a little essay in the introduction about photographing or photography and moods, or the photos we have and the mood we take them are, I, in this introduction, argue are related. On the other hand, when I decided that I would follow a chronological order. That is, I started taking ambitiously these photographs, or ambitiously is a wrong word. Obsession is a bad word I don't like, but continuously, intensely, so to speak. Then I want to group them both chronologically and then also by colors, by the things that the photographs show us, by the subject matter. In fact, I argued that I took these photos in two different moods. Yes, I was intense about my feelings, but there were two moods that led me to take photographs. Actually, all day I'm sitting at my table trying to write my novel. Then suddenly I see something is approaching. Then I leave my table, go out to balcony, tick, 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 and I return back. Why was I going out to balcony? There are so many criteria. So at the beginning, I was after light, after the mood, after giving a sense of an atmosphere, so to speak. Then I begin to develop a sort of series, all the boats of city lines, or all the international boats, all inventing so as to make a sort of encyclopedic collection, making lists, this kind of work. Or sometimes, for example, this strange photo, there are other photos related to them, are double pages. I also, it was important for me to think of the pages of the book as folios. So we are inventing, or I am, do we have a double page? Yeah, we have it here, for example. We can put this. So this is the middle of the page. So all of these photos make a whole. It's it's a sort of a composition we did together. Yeah.
So that you just understand the procedure once more. So Orhan has his writing desk in a big room, and then there is a balcony, and he set up the tripod with the camera on the balcony, and the tripod was sitting there for months, and there's just a small window and the view out to the Bosphorus, and what you find when you read the book are really little sensations. So I was reading it, and I found photos and pages with beautiful light, color, snow, fog, clouds, smog. And then the objects, boats, birds, waves in the water, reflections.
Can I have a paper napkin, please? Can I have a paper? Do you have a paper napkin or a paper?
Yeah,
toilet paper will also do.
Mm-hmm. And also, when you look very carefully, the book is an encyclopedia of boats. So you see cargo boats, vessels, car ferries, sporting boats, submarines, military destroyers. And all the photos had been taken by a strange artistic mood, and that is the beauty of the book.
Thank you. Gerhard, it was Gerhard's idea once we did the layout. Orhan, this looks like a comic book, implying that although there is not much writing inside the book and associated with the photos, there is a sense of storytelling, because we see a boat here, that it gets bigger, and then it disappears. There is a continuity of space. Once there is a continuity of the space, human mind automatically adds a story to it, because things are changing. In the end, first, let's say, old photography books imitated picture catalogs, that a painting is a representation of frozen time, that so much is happening in an important moment, or a beautiful moment, or in an idealized moment. Click, and the time is 1 second, and it's captured. Then this 1 second should represent, just like in the painting catalogs, a situation, an information, an important moment. While after digital photography, after that there is no the film cost, after the prices of click, click, click went down, the moments are represented by many photos, thus giving the moment a sort of a storyish change, that literature works in time, stories work in time, and painting, art works in space. While digital photography, at the beginning, photography books imitated art books where the time is frozen, but later, now, we can think of a moment with not only with one photo, but various photos. This is the logic of our book.
Yeah, and to continue what Orhan says, in the very beginning, photography, when you think about the daguerreotypes, were following the technique of paintings. And for many years, photographers were copying the techniques of artistic painters. And later on, and I think by today with digital photography and high-speed video cameras, these limitations had been cut off, and so there's a new freedom for storytelling with series of photos which Orhan picked up.
In the end, my instincts were for the literary book. I choose this form, perpendicular book, perhaps because I am a literary writer and not honoring one single moment, but a sense of continuity of time, continuation of time, and it is doable with digital photographs. In the end, when I was thinking of the folios 2 pages, of course, we were thinking of continuity of color, clouds, boats, encyclopedic sensibility, or following the mood. As you turn the pages of the book, there is a sense of closedness, that the person's mind or sentiments, or the photographer's sentiments, although he is in a sort of locked in a balcony, he is through the clouds, colors, various boats, is representing his moods. That's how I felt when we were doing the book. But while I was taking the photographs, I didn't know what I was doing in a way. I didn't have any idea of making a book or this or that. Yes, every time I was looking at the photos, wow, beautiful, or sometimes deleting them, not satisfied with them. But the photos, as I was taking them, meant something, and they were in the end in my computer, while making the book, photos suggested another meaning.
So the book Balcony and the photos of Orhan educated me in a certain way to look differently to photos. So, for example, one of my favorite photos is this one. There's a cargo vessel and a small boat is surrounding it. And the boat was coming from this side, making a curve and going along this side. And here it meets his own history, which is frozen in the photo. So it is a very interesting technique, and it is surprising for me. I'm not getting tired by looking to the 600 pages and to discover the sensations of unexcitement. So a bird which is unsharp is highly exciting, or another photo I like a lot is this one. So here you really don't know, is it a boat or is it a bird which is flying over the sea? Yeah. So there's a lot of space for fantasy, and without any words, looking to the pages is an extremely exciting education for the eye and for the brain.
Thank you. And maybe we take one or two questions. Maybe they'll ask questions. Mm-hmm.
Just one last word. By reading this book, comes into my mind the famous words of Walker Evans, what he has written down in 1958 as a US Camera Annual. He said, "For the 1000th time, it must be said that pictures speak for themselves, wordlessly, visually, or they fail." And the text, the essay Orhan was writing in front of the book is not explaining anything. It is just showing up how he was photographing, what was his technique, but it gives a lot of space for fantasy and discovery.
In the introduction, 8-page introduction, I don't explain what the photographs are about or why I took that photo. I explain what made me go out into the balcony and click, 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 click. there are many reasons. Just like there are many reasons that we read books or fiction writers write fiction. The most popular question I've been asked all of my life is, why did you write this novel? And my answer, there is not a one single reason. The same about photography. I was taking these photographs with an impulse, enjoying them, idealizing things that what I saw at the entrance of Bosphorus, developing more thinking about Syria, seeing the world differently, so forth and so on. Every photograph, in a way, is taken with is shot or taken with a different impulse. But in the end, I was taking these photographs not to represent the outer world, that I was in a mood, and the photography I felt that I was taking corresponded to that mood. But I didn't, at the beginning, I didn't know what to do with them. And in fact, all of my friends for many years asked me, Orhan, you're taking all these photos, what do you do with them? And now that we, like all of us, I am carrying a mobile telephone and a camera with me and using it all the time. I didn't have an answer that. Thanks to Gerhard, now we found an answer.
Okay, so are there any questions? If you want to have an answer, yes, please.
Thank you, this sounds fascinating. I'm curious, it sounds like the images and the writing really informed each other, and informed each other, the images that you were capturing and the writing you were doing in your novel? Yes?
I don't know. I can't say that my novels are related to this or that. I'm not saying that. I am a photographer. Another thing is that I wanted to be an artist at the beginning till the age of 22. I said and wrote about this a million times, but that's all. I cannot say, oh yes, this is like my novels, or there is a continuity, there is a texture that correspond to each other. It is hard for me to say these or jump into the theory like that.
Not theory, but I'm just curious. Maybe there is one particular moment where you realize why you took a particular photo, because you were thinking about something, writing something, and how that informed your choice of taking a particular photo.
Yes, I understand. Mm-hmm. The photos were not related to the text that I was writing. They are not related to that. I was, in fact, writing A Strangers in My Mind. It is about street life in Istanbul, and it's full of humanity, while there is almost no faces, no human beings in this book.
You speak a lot about mood and evoking something that is your feeling at the moment, and at the same time you speak of warships and commercial ships and so on that are coming in out of all places, the Bosphorus. Was there at some point an interest in the historical or political elements of the things you were photographing?
No history here. The only history we may have in the book is that we look at the silhouette of Istanbul, we look at old mosques and all that. That in front of me there is a mosque, and I use the minarets and the dome as sometimes as a sort of frame. The photos are in the book are not cropped, are not cut at all. When I was taking it, I was using the side of the minaret, the side of the triangle of the dome as a part of the picture. I was aesthetically motivated, and a corner of my mind continuously idealizing and framing the situation. But then they were fast, practical decisions. But on the other hand, history is such a big thing that no photographer may think that now I am dramatically representing a historical moment unless he is invited there and something historical will happen. I was more like a writer, a craftsman, clicking and clicking and clicking with some idealized ideas and following that. That was making me happy. The fact that I was recording saving, recording and saving some beauty from the world. That motivated me, and how much of it is being a photographer, how much of it is being an artist, they are all related, of course.
One question here. When you took these photos, were you then later, as the book took shape, surprised to see the format and the layout using the sort of panels and the sequential thing that Mr. Steidl, you mentioned sort of mirrors comics. Were you surprised to see that take shape as a format for these pictures?
I am very happy about the book. If you can, the fact that I have such a beautiful book with all these photos, I took impulsively without thinking of a consequence. That is the surprising thing. Another surprising thing is that once they are printed on once they are on paper, you look at them more carefully because once choosing reducing 8,000 to 600 is, in a way, I felt I am putting some photos on a pedestal. While on the other hand, I argue that the ones are chosen not necessarily quote the best ones. Yes, some of the quote best ones I choose, but next to the best one, I have another best one, which is click, 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 which since I did click, click, click. Yes, the eye makes a choice, but I don't have a feeling that I have 600 good photos, the rest, say, 7,400 are not going to go to wastebasket. They're also equally I can do another book like that. This feeling with the same, this 8,000 photos, this reminds me the feeling I had when I was writing my autobiographical, my memoirs, which is Istanbul. When I was writing that book, well, okay, I said, let's cover, say, till I begin going to school in 50 pages. But then I have so many memories that I can write about till I reach 7. Or let's give another 50 pages between 1955 or 64 to 70. My God, I can write 1,000 pages about those years, and it will be equally interesting. That book is published, I can write another, the same title, entirely different anecdotes, but the mood of that autobiography will be the same. Here I feel the same thing. We can do another book with Gerhard, call it Balkon 2, and that all the photos will be different, but the mood and the atmosphere of the book will be exactly the same. And these are the ironies of digital photography, I think. The photos are not unique anymore. It's not a unique moment. That it's around the unique moment, there are also other click, 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 clicks. And it's nice to look at them. It's nice to organize them in such a way that totality of the moment is covered in a different way.
Just to have an addendum to that what Orhan said. Normally I got a heart attack when a photographer is delivering 8,500 photos for a photo book project, and I said I will say, okay, go home and make your lesson, but he's absolutely right. When we look to the 600, then I have all the other 7,900 on my server, and I was on a weekend looking to them, and they are all exciting when you follow the mood of Orhan, and you get really a good trip through 8,500 photos.
Also, it was a joy to work with Gerhard. He's very disciplined. He's German, and Germany and Turkey has a long tradition of working and fighting with each other. So we were perfect. Yes, Dianita. Yes.
Could you imagine making a novel with Steidl, which included images in your text, like you started with Istanbul.
Yes, I have so many projects. Yes, and my life is inventing projects, then running around and trying to execute them.
For me, it is much easier. I can just say the doors are wide open for you to make any photo book project with me you want. So.
Yes. And it's such a sweet thing to hear from Gerhard. Yes, we probably will produce more books if we don't fight.
I'm very curious about your editing process of the pictures and whether, as a writer, you found there to be any correlation with editing text.
First correlation or first similarity is, as I said, referring to my memoirs. You know, I can make a same book with different moments. Another is, in the end, you say to yourself, well, yes, they are equally beautiful, but you have to cut it. And this is the most cruel part of being a writer too. That because, I mean, the easy thing in photography is when you are cutting, when you a book, a fictional book, you are also, you know that, oh my God, I gave to these 2 chapters 2 months. Now I'm throwing them away so cruelly, so brutally. While in photography, you don't say that. My God, I gave 2 months to this photo. You don't say that. At least I'm not that photographer. Maybe, well, this is also interesting. Now that I'm putting this one, why don't I put that one? I may be saying that just, and the fiction writer, when he or she is cutting, also says that it's painful. But maybe there is a consolation to the idea that, well, I can then use the other photos, do something with them. They are in my archive. Someone will have a look at them. And also thinking that a book is an advertisement for the other photos that I did not put into the book.